the literature that shall not be named and history.
You think? I hear his name's Paul. Paul Kupperberg. We're live with Paul Kupperberg.
I think you're definitely watching too much anime.
Yeah, I am. Okay.
Yeah. Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Is the one obvious thing.
Hey, everybody. Happy Tuesday. This is Leo, I would be your monkey behind the keyboard, but I was unpacking and I got stuck in a box. So if you could take it away, Carrie. Hey, everybody. Things keep happening to poor Leo. I don't know what we're going to do. But tonight, what we're going to do is you're going to have me acting as your monkey behind the keyboard. Ratatosker is just going to get wasted because we have a rainstorm going through and that's what he wants to do. And we have a great show tonight. Leo couldn't make it, but the rest of us are here. We have an awesome guest and take it away, Jeremy. Oh,
I'm taking it away. Oh, you revealed.
I moved you.
Focus.
I pushed the wrong button.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night. You're watching Splash Pages. I'm so glad you're all here. Without further ado, over to Drew. Boo Boo.
Hey everybody. I'm Drew, and I'm here on Tuesday as I normally am, and I'm glad you're here too. I'm seriously glad. But we have a great guest returning. He is a superb human being, a fantastic writer, historian. He just honestly just keeps on coming out with great content. He's here to talk about his latest book, which was released, if I'm correct, via Kickstarter on his birthday, which was June 14th. everybody, the one, the only, Paul Kupperberg.
Yay! Happy birthday
Yay.
to you.
Yeah. Yep. Big deal. Big deal.
Let's not make this any more uncomfortable than it has to be. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Jeremy, I went too far. That's my bad.
Too far. Too far.
All right.
Welcome back.
Well, hey, Paul.
Yeah. Hi. How is everyone?
Doing
Oh.
great.
Fantastic. Oh,
Glad to have you back, sir. It's always nice having you around. And I have to say, I've been reading some of your excerpts. You know, the stuff that you post on your blog, and you know, the stuff that you put on Facebook and such. And this, I'm so excited to read this because I love learning about the cons of yesteryear and stories like that from someone like yourself. And like I read I think an excerpt that you did earlier was about old Comic-Cons you guys go into and how great. And for me, I think it was the thing that I loved the most was learning the diet at the con has not changed. People are still eating pizza and hot dogs. And,
Yeah, pizza, hot dogs, and whatever cheap food is nearby. There was a chain in New York. I don't know if it was anywhere else, but in New York City, it was called Tad's Steak Pub.
yes.
And it was this is in 1971, 2, and 3. Those early conventions I went to. It was still like $1.98 for a steak, a baked potato, and you know, a garlic bread and a soda. So you know, that was what we splurged on.
We would have been kings.
oh my God. But compared to that year's money, though, so you know, that's kind of expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, it was. I mean, you know, pizza was still like $1/2 a slice, and whatever. So yeah, and of course there was always the ever reliable New York City street dirty water dog cart. So you know,
Hey. Absolutely.
I always wonder, Paul, while writers are at cons, what like because artists are like doing their arting. What do you
Not a
do?
technical term.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's technical. I've
All
looked
right,
it
no,
up.
I'll take your word for it. I've only been in the business for 50 years, so I don't know.
God damn it, Jeremy.
Well, they're handling all their commissions and stuff that they have to do. What do you do besides sign the books? Like, I mean, I'm sure you got tons of signing to do, but like,
There's plenty of that, people coming by and talking and signing, but there is a lot of standing there looking, you know, trying not to look as bored as you really are, because there are lulls. You know, an artist can always sit down and start and work on sketches and stuff, but I'm just kind of, you know, writers pretty much can stand there and hopefully somebody will come along and take pity.
do you collect anything?
Dust.
Dust?
No, I don't. I'm out of the collecting business. I have been for the last, you know, 15 years or so, getting rid of things. You know.
Oh, really?
I've been carrying. When I got divorced in 2009, you know, we packed up the house, and you know, I had all of this stuff. And I moved to a new place, and I was fortunately there for a while, so you know I could still keep it. But then I, you know, moved and started moving. It's like I can't drag this stuff around the rest of my life. You know, it's a lot of heavy paper that I'm mostly never going to look at again. I'm not going to reread it. If I want to reread that book, it's in the library. If I want to reread that comic, I can find it online or a reprint. So you know, I've just been getting rid of lots and lots of stuff. And in fact, I just, you know, talked it over with my son. I'm going to donate, you know, my papers and the bulk of my collection of the stuff that I worked on. Yeah, I'm going to be donating that probably to, you know, Columbia University, which has a very active. Karen Green, the librarian there, is, you know, every time I post something on Facebook, she'll message me going, "We need to talk about your papers." So I'm finally gonna do that. And yeah.
All right. I do have to ask. I would have loved one of the people that you mentioned in your free to approach guest. Like I've met Jim Steranko, but I would have loved to have met Gardner Fox.
Yeah,
I was a big fan of his early work. So, you're talking about things to sign. I'm like, oh man, because I'm a Starman fan, and I believe he did the first Ted Knight. I believe that was him. He was involved in some capacity, and I remember there had been a first edition on eBay, and I was like, let me see, and then I was nope, not my lifetime.
Yeah, I think he worked on the Golden Age Starman stuff. And he definitely worked on the revival in the '60s in Brave and the Bold, the showcase, the Brave and Bold revival with Murphy Anderson. No, Gardner Fox was, it coalesced for me not too long ago, where most fans of my age have as their trilogy, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and Steve Ditko. Mine are Gardner Fox, Carmen Infantino, and Julie Schwartz. I was much more of a DC fan. I mean, I started reading comics. There was no Marvel. It didn't exist yet. So by the time I caught up to Marvel, I read all of it. I caught up and I read Marvels and I bought them and I collected them, but the characters were never resonated with me the way the DC stuff did.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm myself a huge Batman fan, so I agree. DC has always been kind of the home base for me. Marvel's kind of, not that I've disliked or hated on Marvel, but like it's just on the side. It's not.
Well, I never had a great urge to write for them. None of their characters really, spoke to me the way Superman did, or frankly, I joke. At some point at DC, I wrote everything from Adam to Zatanna, and it's true. And I was fine. Hand me a DC character, and happy. I can do it. But Marvel stuff, not so much. Again, nothing wrong with it. Just wasn't, just wasn't what imprinted on me.
So I'm sorry.
Okay. No, go.
The name of the book, Panel by Panel, where does that come from?
That comes from Silver Age writer Bob Haney. Yes, I once asked him what was the secret to writing a great comic book story, and being, a kind of, this is my job, I'm in it for a buck kind of guy. Bob said, there's no secret. You just write them, page by page, panel by panel. And I always thought that was sage advice.
Oh, absolutely. One of the stories I definitely wanted to ask you is, I believe you had one that you posted about involving you and Leonard Nimoy, who, being a Star Trek fan, my dad raised me on the original series, and it's been an actual a good accomplishment of mine that I've got a lot of the signatures from his Star Trek for him. But I again, unfortunately, wasn't able to Leonard Nimoy. But I remember, learning that it was just most people just said it was such a joy to be around Nimoy. I believe
seems like a great guy.
Yeah, but I would love to. I mean, I remember reading when he was doing voice recording for Atlantis that people would just come into the studio while he's reciting the lore or whatever, and they would just sit and listen. And I would love to hear like that story, Leonard Nimoy. Like, I think you saved his life or something like that.
I saved Leonard Nimoy's life. Yes, more or less. It was at the first Star Trek convention in New York City in, what was it, 73, 74. And I was there. I was, excuse me.
Oh, take it.
I am not an over-the-top Star Trek fan. I watched the original series. I've seen episodes here and there of subsequent series and some of the movies. I've written the comic books. I've written for the Star Trek franchise in prose, but like, I have to go and study up on it a little. Anyway, it was I went to the Star Trek convention just because there's a big overlap of fandom, and it was a convention in New York. So I went to hang out. And while I was there, I was talking to the head of security, and he was. It was fairly early in the day, but it was a comic convention, and he was quite drunk. And we were just kind of goofing around, and somebody came running in from the lobby. We were in kind of this section off the ballrooms, and someone came running in from the lobby. One of the staffers, and saw Steve, and was going nuts. He's going, "Oh my God, Leonard Nimoy is here, and he's being mobbed, and he's going to get him. You got to do." So Steve kind of went right, and he looked at me, and he went, "Want to take care of that?" And passed out.
Oh my God.
I don't know what possessed me to, because I am not a brave individual, but fuck it, it was Spock,
Yeah.
So I ran out to the lobby, and indeed there was Leonard Nimoy, surrounded by eager fans, and nobody was, there was nothing nasty going on, but there were a lot of people, and this, one poor man. And so me and a couple of other security, convention guys jumped in and kind of surrounded him. And I took his arm, and I said, we were supposed to take him into the ballroom. I said, "Follow me. I'll get you to," so I'm getting battered. I'm getting pushed. My glasses are getting knocked off. And at some point, and I'm just a wise ass kid from Brooklyn. So, I just turned to him at some point and go, "Jesus, you're not worth this." And and he kind of laughed in delight and said, "I know, but isn't it wonderful?" And after that, it's like, okay, I must love him, because that's the perfect answer. So anyway, we got him to safety, and he got up into the ballroom, and he got him on stage, and he talked, he did whatever. And flash forward about 30 years, I'm at a licensing show at the Javits Center in New York City, and the New York City licensing show is a massive affair. Every company, movies. This is back in 2000 and I don't know, 3 or 4, whatever it was.
Okay.
And it was, so the movie companies took these massive things. Everybody was. I mean, I met everybody from Lunette from the Big Comfy Couch to Art Clokey, who created Gumby, to Bozo. Blanking on his name at the moment, but the guy who had the owned Bozo. Anyway, I'm walking by. Me and my friend Charlie Kotzman are walking by the Paramount setup, and there is Leonard Nimoy in front of a backdrop, and he's there to do the Polaroid meet and greet.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, there was a lull and there was nobody online, so I figured, well, great, I'm going to go get a picture. And literally, I forgot all about the convention thing until I get to him, and I shake his hand, and it suddenly dawns on me. And as we're having the picture taken, I said, this isn't the first time we met. He had no idea who I was, and I said, yeah, it was at the first Star Trek convention in New York City in 1970, whatever. And you were getting mobbed, and I was the guy who got you to the ballroom to safety. And he was like, "That was you?" And he thanked me again. So,
oh man,
that's my encounter with Spock.
That's pretty cool, though.
That's pretty awesome. That's wow.
Yeah.
So, it's one thing that I'm curious about, because I'm always trying to write down things that have happened to me, and some of it is because I'm terrified of one day I can't remember anything, but also I don't want to lose all the details. How have you been writing these things down, or you just have that kind of like, I think
I'm just making this shit up on the spot. It's fine. No, a lot of them are just anecdotes I've told over the years, and I don't know. It just, as I started working, it started off as a much larger book. I was going to do, like an autobiography thing, which covered, parts of my life which were not pleasant as well. And that got out of hand, and so I just kind of I broke it in two. I wrote my trauma memoir. That's written. I haven't published it yet. But and then I took the rest of it and made my comic book memoir. So, as you're writing this stuff, you just start remembering other stuff. One thing triggers another incident. You think about this person and you go, oh, right, that happened when I was in the room with him, or, whatever. It just, and I was also fortunate that I did hold on to a lot of paper. I have letters that my grandmother wrote to my grandfather in 1919 when he was away in Philadelphia studying to be an electrician. I have my grandparents. I have birth certificates from parents. So I have all this paper. I know the type of car my grandfather died in because I have the bill of sale and the receipt.
Wow.
The 1926 secondhand Nash that he bought and dropped dead of in front of the Granada Theater in Brooklyn in 1929. A theater where in 1973 I would later be an usher. Without knowing about that part of it. But the owner of the theater, I'm just rambling here, but the owner of the theater had been an usher when my grandfather was the projectionist at that theater. Wow. And he remembered my grandfather. So Brooklyn is a small world.
It is indeed. But all right, I'm good. You guys have any? You guys talk, please. Carrie or Drew.
Well,
he answers too much. You guys think of something.
From your perspective, Paul, what actually makes a good Comic-Con?
Accessibility. The just everybody. When these early shows, they were at the hotels in New York or Detroit or the city they were in, and there was no pretension to them. Everybody was just there. It didn't, Gardner Fox and Joe Kubert and Frank Frazetta and whoever were available. You just had to walk up to them. I was too nerdy that first year to, too scared to walk up to Gardner Fox or whatever, or Steranko, with much to my regret. Although I did have other great experiences. I was online to get a book the autobiography of Kirk Allen, who was the actor who played Superman in the movie series in the 40s. And as I'm waiting online, I turned around and the guy behind me was, grown up in a suit and tie, but he was the host of a kids show in New York, Bob McAllister, who was the host of Wonderama. So I was like, and suddenly I'm talking like, I'm 17 years old, and I've never been out of Brooklyn practically. So suddenly I'm talking to this guy from my TV show, and then by the time we get up to Kirk Allen, McAllister introduces me as my pal Paul, and so I'm standing there talking with these two Hollywood showbiz people, and it's like over my head, but I'm just overwhelmed because it's like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah,
I think if you can go to a convention and have that feeling,
Absolutely.
It's like, man, that's the best. That's just, and I still get it. I mean, I think it was 2014. There was a East Coast Comic Con. And I had never met Steranko. A big fan of his stuff. Loved. I was around for when his comics were new. So I was buying them off the stand and seeing this stuff firsthand. And I mentioned to I think it was Alex Simmons. Somebody has Steranko was there. He had a big display of all his shadow paintings and stuff. And I said to Alex, I never met Steranko, and he said, "Oh yeah, come on." And he takes me over. Alex and Jim are friends, and he introduces us. And then I'm standing there for the next 20 minutes talking about comics and being told I'm wrong about everything by Jim Steranko.
Yeah, it sounds like Steranko.
Yeah, and then and at some point Steve Rude joins us, and now we're talking comic book theory, with Jim Steranko and Steve Rude. It's like, once again, I'm like, hey, look at me, I'm with the, so it was, the feeling, I can see.
Yeah, yeah. I've met quite a few good friends of mine just by standing in line to meet a creator. So, you can't, like you said, you can't underestimate that line friend, because you never know.
Well,
That could end up being, you end up being a friend that, I think that's 2 terrific cons in a row. I've met good friends of mine who I'm still friends with just because we were standing online. I remember one of them, I was just standing online to meet Denny O'Neil, and I just started talking to this guy who's Canadian. He drove down from Canada, and I got to know him. By the end of the time, we were friends, and we had dinner, and I'm still friends with him to this day. I know him and his family pretty well, and I see him every once in a while, and it's great. Like you said, that's, you never know.
I made friends. I made friends in comic book and fandom. In 1968 that I'm still friends with.
Right.
Paul that I met in middle school.
That's awesome.
No, it's not. It's Paul. You don't know Paul. It's not that awesome. But,
no. I've taken one of Paul's classes. I know that's pretty awesome.
No, he's a good guy. He really is.
He's great.
Great teacher. I had a good partner on the journey. To get here.
Yeah. Oh God. Like I said, I have so many questions. Carrie, go.
Okay, so you've done a bunch of your comic works. You have the I Never Write for the Money, but I Always Turn in the Manuscript for a Check that came out in 2020. And then that was more covering your stuff, correct? And
yeah, it was more, it was a collection
industry.
of essays and things I've written about writing and the comic book business and, things like that. Yeah.
And then in the direct comments, direct conversations, and direct creativity, which just came out April 17th,
right.
I believe.
Right.
You got to sit down and talk to all of the different creators that have been friends of yours and generations worth of them, and just checking out. I believe it said, who or what inspired you most in your development as a comic book creator, and all of the different answers. And you just have wonderful. I'm not going to screw everything up because I'm going to, by trying to say everybody's name who you've interviewed. But so is this basically you interviewing yourself with the same lineup in some of the panel by panel? Do you take kind of a bit of a lead from the way other people answered your interviews?
Well, I try to keep me to a minimum. I mean, I exchange stories and I thought, but I figured like in direct creativity, there's 18 interviews. So, a little bit of me in each interview was fine. I was spread across the entire book. I really was trying to focus on the people I was talking to. Because, I've got Jerry Conway and Mike A. Van Oming and Chuck Patton and Roy Thomas and Christopher J. Priest, Mark Wade, Mark Millar, Mark Guggenheim. A lot of people named Mark. Anybody named Mark, I was interviewing for this book.
It's true.
Gonna change my name.
And you had some Dans.
You got a lot of Dans.
A couple Dans.
Yes.
A couple Dans.
Yeah.
What I was saying, what I was meaning, I'm sorry, I didn't phrase that very well. When in panel by panel, is that kind of you answering the same kind of questions that you were asking them?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I cover a little bit of everything. I mean, it really starts from, the beginning when I was, picking up comic books that I was too young to read. And it just, follows just my obsession with comics through to getting into fandom and then my professional career. And after at DC and other places.
And it was, I believe you were 10 when it was the Flash of Two Worlds, Flash 123, introduced the multiverse. And in the paper, it was on your birthday that it happened. So you were kind of destined to be in the comic world.
As Mark Wade said when I told him that story, he said, "What a gift."
True story. Absolutely.
Yeah. I had read the story came out in 1961 originally, but I didn't read it until 65 when it was reprinted in a Flash Annual. and it just, it wasn't even the first reading. It was several readings where I realized, oh my God, Flash crosses the bridge and he finds himself in Keystone City, vibrating across the dimensional bridge onto Earth 2. And he picks up a newspaper and, the Keystone whatever Gazette, but the date on the newspaper is June 14th, 1961. I was like, by 1965, I knew about the multiverse because I had seen it in Justice League and all that stuff. And I loved it. I loved the idea. I loved the concepts. And to realize that it was, that it was born on my birthday just was like, sucked me in entirely. Whatever, I was a reader before that, an accumulator before that of comics. But afterwards, it was like, I was a fan.
Right.
That's just so awesome.
Who was your first? Who's your first boss in when you got into comics? First editor.
First editor was Nick Cuddy at Charlton Comics.
Oh, okay. Oh, at
Charlton. I made my first sales to Charlton in 1975. First half dozen stories or so. I was, trying to break in, so I didn't want to, even though I had friends, like Paul Levitz was already an editor at DC, right. But I didn't want to, try it at DC and strike out. So I wanted to, pop my cherry somewhere. I tried Gold Key, I tried, and then I tried Charlton, and Charlton fortunately went for it, the suckers. But Nick Cuddy bought my first bunch of stories.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's cool.
And
did you just send them in, or was it at a con? Or
no, during from 1971 to 73, Paul Levitz and I were publishers of a fanzine called. First, it was called Etc. Then it became the Comic Reader, and it was a very well-known. We back in those days, we eventually had a circulation of about 3,500 a month, which was this was a little thing we produced originally on Paul's dining room table, and then later we rented the basement apartment in his parents' house to be the offices. But we were a pretty active publisher of fanzines during that time. So I had I wasn't professional, but a lot of professionals knew me just from that association. So I was able to call Nick, and plus I also had everybody's phone number because we were always calling these guys for news for the Comic Reader. I called Nick and said I'd like to send him some stuff to look at, and he said fine, send it along, and I did, and he bought it. He bought some of it.
That's pretty
$5 a page. Oh yeah.
Woo! So again, another excerpt that you posted is that you had been on a promo at one point for DC. I believe your phrase is, "Oh, it didn't look awkward at all," promoting DC and such.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've seen slowly that other comic creators are, getting kind of their due in certain media. I mean, Chris Claremont on Days of Future Past, Marv Wolfman during the Crisis on Infinite Earths, CW crossover and whatnot. Minus your TV debut, which, nice tie, by the way. Have you got a chance to have you been asked to do something like that, whether it's cartoon or TV or film yet?
No, nothing. James Gunn did a shout out to me in Peacemaker, but unfortunately, he left it up to probably an assistant, and they turned out it was a shout out to my brother Alan Kupperberg, which does me squat because I didn't like him, but.
So,
but
I have a question.
Yeah, why didn't I like him? Well, no, go ahead.
Oh,
good.
No, this isn't actually to do with you, bro. That's
what my trauma memo is, a memoir.
Go
ahead.
Go, Carrie.
Are you kickstarting that? I'm
Eventually,
sorry.
yeah.
Nice.
There you go.
Okay, so I like to read outside of the big two a lot and get something interesting or new that I haven't read before when we get a guest on. And so for you, this time around, I read The Golden Pelican,
Oh, I'm sorry.
and I am very confused.
You too.
Oh boy.
So,
She tried
first
to
of all,
explain it to me.
yeah, it has to do with the collective unconscious and archetypes of Jungian principles and things.
Yeah.
And I'm confused at first because it was written by Jared Goldwater and then you wrote the script. So how did that work exactly?
Jared had a vague idea, and I came up with the whole Jungian thing and all of it. So yeah, it was based on his his broad concept, his big idea. But I wound up writing,
Okay.
Creating the situation and he just wanted he liked the image of pelicans diving into the water.
Okay.
Anyway,
All right.
a gig's a gig. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I finally, I was reading it in the first night. I read the first issue and I was like, and this, if you ask these guys, I read issue 1 and I had to stop because I had to sit there for a second and I had to think a little bit because this isn't just going to get through this comic. This is you really got to put some thought into this and like figure out if you haven't had your psychology courses in a while, it's going to take you a few to kind of catch up on it. And I did enjoy it. It was
too smart for me.
It was a very smart comic, yes, but then you never finished it up unless I missed something. It was
issues,
like,
I think.
yeah, and the magician showed up, and then it was like, and
yes, there's a cliffhanger. There was never another series. This was one of 2 digital only comics I did with that young man, and and I also wrote a couple of screenplays based on his stuff too, which make even less sense. So,
oh, okay, yeah, okay. So he is the one that's on IMDb as well. I was kind of trying to find him, and I couldn't find any information about him really.
Yeah,
but
he's the he's the Silver Clyde of the Archie family. So. The gold one. Which one is he? Jesus, I'm confused now.
There you go.
If you guys need any therapy, Paul can help you here. He's got a pretty good idea of how all the psychology and stuff works. I think
I've got a decent grasp on
trauma.
Jungian philosophy. Yes.
Yeah,
nice.
And the trauma.
Yes.
I'd love to stop paying for therapy.
Right. So speaking of a gig for being a gig, I think one of the more random things again that you posted on your blog was your sort of chance writing for the popular series Wishbone.
Yes.
So
I did actually write for the franchise. There was I co-wrote with Michael Jan Friedman a Wishbone mystery for the Syrian conspiracy.
Yes.
It's for Sirius, the dog star, not Syria, the country.
Yes,
I did do one of those. And then I tried to pitch Frankenbone, which is probably not the best name. But an adaptation of Frankenstein with Wishbone as Victor Frankenstein.
Yes.
So I did write a few chapters and submitted it, but for whatever reason, I guess I didn't hit their high literary standards and didn't get the job.
Yeah, and I will say that it's sad because having read I believe the first 2 chapters you posted, I was like, man, I would have read this. Heck, I would have gladly watched it adapted on that show.
Please, a Jack Russell Terrier as great building a monster? Come on.
I know that would be like I was like, well, what is his Igor? Is it a cat with
I don't know, but
eye?
Or he would just go fetch his own body parts. Go ahead, fetch Wishbone. Yeah,
exactly. It was just, and especially I think what killed me is you had a photo of the dog, with like it's Mary Shelley style, and I'm like, Yeah, I was like, I can't deal with this. I was
Yeah.
like, because I remember as a kid, every once in a while, I was like, oh, Wishbone. I was like, look, kids, this is a way to get in touch with your classics. And then I was like, eventually, yeah. And now no one knows who the heck Huck Finn or Tom Sawyer are. They're like, yeah.
Yeah, Wishbone was actually a good show. It did a good job of kind of, doing Reader's Digest condensed versions of these things for kids.
100%.
And I mean, I don't know if it would interest them, but
you have me thinking that this is my mom's dog. Real quick here, this is Peanut. Okay. She is half mini Jack Russell Terrier, and when you're saying the dog fight, I just dog as Victor Frankenstein. I can see they're just getting the zoomies, trying to get each body part and running and bouncing off the couch. But then when the storm comes in to get the lightning for the It's Alive, like running and hiding under a blanket. Yeah. Just oh, no. That's where the assistant has to come in. Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
That would be glorious.
That sounds great. Write it, Carrie.
We're gonna write it.
Yeah.
Paul just take the credit.
Yeah, it's fine. Listen, it's comics, man. You gotta make that buck. Gotta get that money.
Doesn't have to be good. It just has to be here by Tuesday.
There you go. Boom.
So,
easy.
Have all of your Kickstarters not had big bonuses and stuff like that?
No, I don't do big bonuses and stuff like that. It's too much hassle and expense and just buy the freaking book, okay? That's what I'm selling. I will be doing a stretch goal thing. For this book, I came up with something that I could do an interesting PDF that I could offer as a stretch goal thing. A bunch of unpublished, a bunch of proposals for series that didn't make it. But yeah, I mean, it's just otherwise you're printing things and you're mailing things, and it's just eating up time and money and effort. And it's like, I'm not selling that stuff. I just want to sell a book,
Right. No, that's a rational way to look at it. Okay, so one thing I've always been curious about, like, what are the after con dinners like? I've talked to other creators, and they've talked about hanging out after the con, getting out a couple of drinks, just goofing off and stuff, or have that dinner where you like the kind of the fanboy's dream of you're all these all-star creators, and y'all are eating at an Italian restaurant, and I don't know, getting lit on wine and way too many garlic knots. What are there any stories there
that think we go to Olive Garden? What is this?
No, I don't know. You guys
tell steak pubs. Weren't you listening? Come on.
Right. That's fair. That's right. No, you're right. I'm sorry. I assumed that once the book sells well.
Those are fun. Those are great. It's kind of you're relaxed. You're among friends, or at least friends of friends. There's often that's where you can have the real conversations, and you don't have to worry about being overheard when you're speaking the truth. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I've had a lot of those. I mean, back when I was on staff at DC, a regular scam was the expense account lunch. So you would just run through the halls like, "Come on, I'm taking you to lunch," and you got to do a lot of that. There was one guy in the Michael Golden. I'm sure you've heard of him.
Yep.
He was on staff at DC in the early '90s when I came on, and we were in the same department. And Michael was getting Bucky O'Hare royalty checks, and they were healthy. And so when he would get a really healthy check, he would buy lunch. But he didn't just like bring in pizzas. We would go next door to the Hilton Hotel into the fine dining room, 10 or 12 or 14 of us.
Right.
And it would be like, drinks and appetizers and meal. And, we weren't worried about being yelled at by the boss because Dick was at the other end of the table drinking Rob Roy's. So, we were cool. And, So those were great. I mean, it was just, a bunch of us from the staff, some freelancers, all just hanging out and, drinking, during all working hours. It was a lot of fun.
Very nice. Sounds like it.
So
I
what do you
imagine.
stock?
I imagine. Dark here.
No,
No, I
you're
was just saying.
finishing something. So.
Yeah, I was just saying. I just imagine a lot of drunken draw-offs. Characters drawn on napkins that are just like, no, here you go. Here's a.
It's a cape.
Nah, it's not quite. I mean, somebody may occasionally just doodle out of boredom, but no, it's not like that. A lot of times we're not even talking about about comics.
Right.
A lot of times we talk about our families and other stuff. I remember one dinner it was largely about classic movies. There were 10 or 12 of us, and we were all sitting around and yelling out our favorite movies and talking about that stuff. So
see guys, we have the same kind of dinners that our favorite creators have, where we just eat pizza and talk about random stuff.
Y'all at our favorite movies.
Pretty much.
There you go.
And what is your favorite classic movie?
My favorite, I don't have a favorite. I think, having a favorite anything is ridiculous because it changes every. But at the time, I remember I was arguing very strongly for, as a favorite, How Green Was My Valley, the John Ford movie set in the coal mines of Wales.
Okay.
It's a stunning movie. It's Roddy McDowall as a little boy. But it's a stunning movie. You're watching it, and I'd seen it before, but the last time I had watched it before that, I realized that John Ford, who was probably one of the most important directors in American cinema, in the history of American cinema, every scene would resolve into a painting. I mean, you could actually see, it's like you went, he's created this painting in the frame, this scene, this situation, and it just kind of resolves into that for a moment and then moves on. But it's brilliantly, beautifully directed and set. It's an amazing movie. He also did The Quiet Man, which is another favorite movie with John Wayne as a boxer who goes home to Ireland after killing a man in the ring in America. Another great movie. But anyway, stuff like that. I don't have any. I do actually. I was going to say I don't have any superhero movies that are favorites, but I do have Superman. The movie, it will always be, the sentimental favorite.
When you're at cons, and we're jumping on the cons here because it's con season we're going into, so got to know all that. What are your essentials and the things that you keep at your con table that you need to get through the day?
The heroin and condoms. No.
Nice.
Wow.
Hanging out with Paul is terrific.
I'm kidding. It's cocaine.
I knew it.
I kid. I recently heard cocaine referred to as oh man, it was
the world's greatest drug. No, I mean
Booker Kennedy.
No, yeah, I forget. Anyway,
it'll come back
to get me. No, I don't have much. I just need some water or coffee, preferably coffee, but water and or coffee. Maybe something to snack on. But yeah, I mean, I don't, I just try to keep the table,
Okay. We're making up some treat packs to bribe or to gift all of our favorite folks there. So, is there anything that we could bring by that would make your day?
Oh.
and
I'm stalking people on this. Yeah. You don't know what's going on. I have all these things happening right now.
You got a list, man.
Oh, I don't know. I don't really, it's not a thing. I know people come with coolers and all that stuff, and it's like, it's not a priority for me. just something,
We'll get you some water and some hot dogs.
whoa,
Yeah.
Water and hot dogs.
get me Nathan's.
Yeah, there you go. For old time's sake, we'll make sure they put it in the dirty water, just so you could get that
No,
old feel.
Nathan's is cooked on a flat top. So
Fair enough. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I don't eat hot dogs, so I wouldn't know that. So,
I do, because
Yeah,
they are
well,
the food of they are the food of the gods.
listen, you can have my share.
I'm sure
So-
I have. Yes,
Yeah.
and I lived in Chicago for a while, where where the Chicago dog is a religion. So
Yes.
They're so good.
oh yeah, and by the way, have you been watching The Bear?
Yes.
Oh no, I want to watch that.
It is so good.
It is amazing. There's one episode in the third season just knocked my socks off. Where the cousin goes to that fight. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Where the cousin goes to work in that other restaurant.
Yeah.
Killer episode. Just a killer episode. But I can't understand why anybody would abandon Chicago beef for fine dining.
I don't know. You're trying to make something better by being unique, but then you forget that the simplicity is where the gold is.
Yeah,
that's what it really comes down to.
A good Chicago beef dunked, please.
I think it's funny watching The Bear. I've worked in a kitchen, and so, like the first season, like I actually had to pause one or two. So like, oh, I'm getting the PTSD is coming back. I'm like,
right,
all the yelling and then it's like, oh boy, oh man, I want to clean something
out. Make sure.
Oh no, it's good.
Be like, boom.
Yeah, it's just like, oh god, I gotta clean something right now, chef. What's going on? No,
yell at me.
And Paul, they definitely get some great guest stars too. Like,
oh yeah,
like just randomly on. Oh wow, you guys got this. Like,
yeah,
like,
I watched it over the course of 2 or 3 days, and
oh good,
I was real impressed. Yeah,
it definitely, because sometimes some cooking shows they're a little too. It's just a little too clean. Yeah, it's just a little too clean, a little too zany, a little too scripted. But The Bear, I was like, no. I've worked with these kind of people. Like, this is real shit. Like, especially the fucking around with each other. I'm like, nope, we do that all the time. We used to do it all the time. The playing pranks and stuff. I was like, no, that is a kitchen. But yeah, no, The Bear, amazing. And such a great love letter to Chicago as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
thumbs up.
Yeah, Jeremy, watch it. When those free time moments, my man. I'm gonna go get some water. So that means Carrie and Jar are gonna talk. So
okay, so while we're on hot dogs, I gotta know: is it a sandwich or not?
Yeah, it's between 2 slices of bread. It's a sandwich.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know why it's a thing, and it's kind of like that commercial with the dog food in the refrigerator. Why is that a thing?
I haven't seen this. Oh, okay. I worked at a place and we sold I've worked in a lot of kitchens too, but one place that I worked at was a hot dog place, and we got all this history of hot dog stuff, and it was they just the amount of disputes going in behind who invented the hot dog and whether it's a sandwich or not always fascinated me, that like there are people that are so adamant about it, and like fights break out. And
no, I understand. I see that on
crazy.
That's what Facebook
like
is all
Star Wars.
People having arguments about hot dog buns, but I don't I don't know that it really matters who invented the hot dog, because you're never gonna it wasn't like Irving Hot Dog invented the thing and he's going to get credit. There's no individual who's ever going to be pegged as the creator of the hot dog. So who cares? Let's move on. They're delicious.
I feel the same way about pizza.
Pizza, exactly. New York style pizza. Right. Not New York style pizza, excuse me. New York pizza. That's all you need to know. Right.
Exactly. And then people are like, oh, it's an Italian dish. But then you go to Italy and their pizza is not great. I'm sorry. It's again, other things in Italy, immaculate, just absolutely superb. But pizza, no.
Yeah, well, it's like I say about deep dish pizza. You know, it's not
Oh,
pizza,
God.
but whatever it is, it's very good.
Thank you. Agreed. That's the best way to put it. Not pizza, but
You're
worth it.
and you're having some now, I see.
Oh no, this
Right.
is vegetables.
Oh, okay. You didn't bring
Yeah.
any for the rest of us. Okay.
Oh
I
no,
know, right?
Go ahead.
nope. Heck to you. Heck to you. Heck to you. Good seeing you, Paul. Yeah. Nope.
So,
No.
Paul, you hit your goal in 2 days. Is that
Yeah.
impressive to you?
Yeah, it's not impressive. It's humbling. It's very nice. You know, it's very. I'm very gratified that that enough people wanted to see it. You know, wanted to read the book, that they were willing to do that. So, yeah, no, that's look. Every time I hit the goal, it's like I didn't think that was going to happen. You know, I just it's you know, hope for the best, expect the worst.
Hmm.
Wise
How
words.
much is it for
No book.
the stretch goal for the PDF of the memoirs?
I think I'm at. I think I'll go for 4,000.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Almost there already,
Are you
actually.
okay? What?
Yep, all good. I'm just
Okay.
absorbing all your knowledge, and I've just got the hiccups.
Oh,
You
well,
know.
Almost.
I'm
You're
going
over
to make
3
people
grand
rest.
now, aren't you?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
over
so
three
you're
grand.
close to that already.
Yeah.
guys, we got to help them get there.
That's right.
Come on, guys.
Pro.
Put us over the
16 days
Buy
to
the
go.
book.
Let's do it.
A mere 16 days. Yes. No,
Yeah,
it's great.
did you have to reach out to anybody before putting out the book to be like, hey, I'm gonna tell this story. I
No.
hope you don't mind.
No, but I did find myself over a succession of a few, you know, revisions and stuff. You're going, yeah, he's an asshole, but I don't think I have to say it in print, you know. And so I kind of softening a few things, and I did change some names of people, just because, frankly, I don't even want to give them the acknowledgement of using their names.
Ah,
A
Wow.
couple of people I worked under at DC.
okay.
So
I think you might have mentioned some of them last time you were here, because I remember some like, oh, moments.
I might have, but you know, I'm not hesitant to. But I think one of them could be litigious. So you know.
Yeah, fair enough. No need to give them any power.
Yeah. No, he was the biggest asshole of the bunch. So you know.
Fair enough.
Did you get sentimental over any of these stories?
I got sentimental over not the stories, but kind of the over the era, over the you know there was something very magical for me about DC Comics, about those the physical place, the offices. When I started going up there as a kid, I took, you know, I went on they used to give tours during the in the 1960s. You could gather in the in the waiting room at you know. I remember it as being Wednesdays, but other people said Tuesday, other people said Thursday. Whenever it was, you could get up there. You could they would, you know, somebody would come through and walk you through the offices, show you artists at work and the editors in their offices, the production department, and on your way out, they would hand you like a comic book and a piece of original art, and you know. But yeah, oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. And then when we started doing the fanzines, and I started going up there on a, you know, semi-regular basis, it reached a point where, you know, where they knew me, the receptionist would see me coming, and I could just walk right in, you know. And then Paul started working there, and other friends were working there. So it was this place I aspired to, you know. I didn't know if I'd ever break into comics or I'd ever make it, you know, at DC if I did. But, you know, it sure as hell was the place I wanted to be, you know, filled with the people I wanted to be associated with. So I did get very nostalgic for that, you know, for that time, because it's gone. You know, I read about it at the end of the book. As soon as I heard that Paul left his publisher in whatever it was, 2010 or 11, you know, I knew that was the end of an era. We were, for the first time in its history, the company was going to be run by somebody who came from outside, Diane, what's her name, was, she came from Warner Home Video or whatever it was.
Right.
And she didn't have a comic book background. She was a business person. She was taking charge of DC Entertainment. DC Comics no longer existed. That was done. And so for the first time in 90, 80 years, 85 years, the company was being run by an outsider. And then a few years later, when they announced they were leaving New York, it was like the end.
Right.
The end. There's no going back. That place will never exist again, and that's kind of sad for folks like me.
Absolutely, 100%. Especially people who, like, maybe in New York would be interested in breaking in the industry. Like, they don't have that opportunity, like with you and a few others.
I think I think that kind of opportunity that me and my peers, we hit at a kind of, unique time in history. It was, the business was, about 40 years old. And the people who created it, who invented it, were still in it. We're still working.
Right.
And we came in and we started to replace them. Not that we were looking to push them out, but, everybody comes time to move on, as I sadly learned myself later. But we came in and we took over, and we were also the first generation to want to do this for a living. Most of the guys before us, did it because they couldn't make it in advertising or commercial art or movies or whatever they were trying to do, or syndicated strips. And B, we were also the first generation that was welcomed by the companies and kind of trained. In the early 70s, DC did a couple of intern type programs. Michael Uslan came in. No, Michael didn't come in through that. David Michelini came in as on this intern program. I think Pat Broderick also came in that way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, there was the Woodchucks. DC had their Woodchucks program, which was all the junior, the early 70s, the junior editors, Paul Levitz and Michael Uslan and Jeff Rovin and a few other people. So they were also being trained to be editors. It wasn't like, Nelson Bridwell came into, Roy Thomas was hired originally at DC by Mort Weisinger. And as he told me in the interview in the book, if Weisinger hadn't been such an asshole, I wouldn't have left after 2 weeks. But but he also said it was the best thing he could have done because there was no room to advance at DC because it had this entrenched editorial system. Whereas at Marvel, he 3 years later he's editor-in-chief. So
yeah.
But Nelson Bridwell replaced him, and Nelson was content to just be there as long as he was in the game. He took a lot of abuse from a lot of people, particularly Weisinger, and but we were the first ones who were there for a purpose. We wanted to not only write and draw comics, but take them beyond where they had been. We wanted this stuff to grow up with us, as opposed to the old way, which was you read comics from 8 to 13 and then you moved on. We kept reading, and we didn't. When you're 20 and 25, you don't want to read the comics for 13-year-olds. You want to read comics created for you.
Right.
And we were also in a time when, half the people coming into the business thought it was, we better get it in now because comics aren't going to be around much longer. There was a whole, Chaikin and Wrightson and all those guys. Kaluta is like, yeah, comics are dead in a few years, so let's get it in now. Let's do it now, and then we'll move on to other things. Suckers.
No, now it's going to die in a few years. That's what I hear. Digital
comics have been dying since I've been reading them.
And yet
So
they're still standing.
yeah.
They
Well,
keep getting resuscitated.
yeah. So we're unfortunately coming up in an hour because we could just have you on just talking for another hour or two or three. But I guess anything we can just read the book
Please.
for more of those great stories. But thank you so much, Paul, for coming on again. And these stories have been absolutely great and very insightful. And honestly, I think I can speak for the group that we can't wait to help you get to 4,000 and more. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. So Gary, take it away.
absolutely.
All right. So, what all do you have coming up con-wise? And where would you like people to get in touch with you on social media?
Well,
If at
I
all.
will be at Terrificon in August in Connecticut, and on social media, I'm on Facebook, I'm on X, I'm on Blue Sky, and or you could check out my website at paulkupperberg.net.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight, sir. And
Thanks for having
we will
me.
see you at Terrificon.
Don't forget about the recording. Remember?
Yeah, when you leave the studio, remember just hit the little red one, and there'll be like a link to an upload thing. It'll just keep you uploading,
Yeah.
and then when you hit 100%, you're good.
All righty. I don't have to be
So-
here for that. I can walk
No,
away.
no, you can do whatever you
Right.
want.
Well, I
Yeah,
will then.
Good. Great. Thank you for
Go have
being
a
here,
drink
sir.
for us.
Thanks a lot. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. See you at Terrificon.
Oh, flip.
Will do.
Will do.
All right, guys, we did it again.
He's still here.
Oh.
Jeremy is alert.
Where'd Drew go? Now we've done it again.
Okay,
Oh,
we did it.
no.
All right, we did it.
Did we lose a Drew? No.
No, I'm right here. All right, you guys. I guess. Do you want to just get straight to the news?
Straight to it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, because if you want to bring Leo in the box, we could banter with him in the box again for a bit. Get on that Schrodinger level of conversation.
Schrodinger.
Hey, Leo. How's it in the box? Well, it's a little square. I would have liked a parallelogram or perhaps a rhombus.
How about poking some holes in it so I can breathe?
That would be great. I'd really like to make it to our next show. But it's stuck in this box. Thanks, Leo, for that wonderful update. You're still a square.
Oh, no, that was horrible.
Hey,
Okay,
listen,
so,
it could have been worse. He could have been a trapezoid.
Okay, so before we do the news, though, we have to do...
Hey, kid, you know what you don't do in your podcast? Make suggestions, because your friends might be creative enough to make them actually happen.
Yeah.
Especially one of those people you talk to fairly frequently when you're driving to work.
I wish.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, yes, let's get started with Variant Watch. I'm your lifeguard, and this time we've got aliens. And when I mean aliens, we got aliens versus Avengers. So, as we've already discussed, that the new crossover that is going to be absolutely fantastic is Aliens versus Avengers, which is the first time we ever see aliens crossing over the Marvel Universe. And we're going to go into some new things like the home of the engineers, as we know, is the kind of the grandfather or fathers of the xenomorphs. But of course, in this series, we have xenomorphs reaching Marvel's Earth, and you have the perfect organism meet a planet of superhumans who can easily take that sucker out. So celebrating this, there are 5 Marvel vs. Alien variant covers starting in July. So you have Greg Land, Tony Daniel, Eric DeRusso, Steven Segovia, Joshua Cassera, all contributing this 4-part miniseries. Like right there, you have that's Tony Daniel. That's Greg Land right there. I do. I want to say that might. I think that's Joshua Cassara.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. JDC.
Wait, who?
The letters I see are JDC.
Wait,
and
you said
DVW.
who?
Over
You need to be
here.
careful with that AVA stuff.
Oh yeah.
Adult
It's another
video.
great artist, everybody.
Yay!
Yeah.
They're fabulous.
Indeed. And then I think there's one more, Carrie, right?
Yep. This one I think is the prettiest. I know that's good, but I think it looks so sleek and the lines are all very nice with it.
Ah,
Oh, nice. That is Steven Segovia. I'd recognize that line work.
very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So cool, man.
It is
Yeah. So those are
gorgeous.
the 5 covers. So again, Aliens versus Avengers by Jonathan Hickman and Asad Ribic, who is in the art in the main cover, on sale July 24th.
All right.
Very nice.
Indeed. And then
And
following up the other thing, which I think Carrie would agree is kind of one of the weirder variant cover series that we've covered in Variant Watch so far this year. And we're back. Marvel and Coca-Cola. So we've already seen them teaming up for supermarkets advertising. Carrie's has showed off her Coke Zero skinnable pans. There's the commercial that notably implies that Wolverine would cut off your bottle top for your Coke bottle. Marvel is releasing 6 Coca-Cola variant covers, spotlighting the magic of the Marvel comics. So you have the Avengers, Deadpool, Guardians of the Galaxy, teaming up with Coca-Cola to save the day. So you have Corey Smith, Jan Balzadua, Salvador LaRocca, Todd Nanook, Ron Leem, and Paco Medina, all for remembering a nice, good old sip of the Coke.
Who's buying this? Who out there asked for this?
I honestly don't know.
Coca-Cola.
It's going to be on sale from August 7th to August 28th.
he's so little, tiny little Blade. They're all little. I don't get this.
I don't know. Did the borrowers request this? I don't know.
There's like the giant comic book people and all of these itty bitty. The Coke bottles are bigger than all of our comic book heroes. I do enjoy this one. This one cracked me up. I don't know why. Probably because it's Daredevil, but yeah.
You mean Deadpool?
So,
Deadpool, same guy.
Deadpool. Yeah, damn it.
It's not the same.
They're-
You know what? You know what? We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
I get that one tongue tied a lot.
We're going to move on. No, we're done with Variant Watch, and we're going to move on. So.
It's weird. Oh, Tom apparently is the person who requested that. So
Good
thanks a
job,
lot,
Tom.
Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Go
We
back to
all
your
need
blog.
Coca-Cola variants.
All right. So, hey, everybody. Do you know what time it is?
Oh, no. It's Drew's news. Whose news?
Drew's news. Oh.
This time.
Okay.
It's
This time.
Drew's News, exciting tales, fresh comic views. In the pages, heroes fly, villains plot under the sky. From Gotham's dark to Metropolis views, we cover stories old and new. Drew's News, your daily source for comic clues. Join the fun, it's a heroic cruise in the world of Drew's Comic News.
I'm too tired because I got all the news. You guys do it.
He's too tired.
I hate you all.
Just too
All right.
tired.
Carrie, this is you.
All right. So currently we have Deadpool everywhere on screen in the comics with a new series relaunching him, some miniseries with Wolverine all over the place. Then, of course, Venom is everywhere currently as well with the launch of Venom War. You know who else is everywhere and has these two characters in common? He was just on Splash Page last week. That's right, Cullen Bunn. So it's only fair that Cullen is throwing Deadpool in as a wrench to foil the zombiotes in the Venom War world, with the Venom War Deadpool. All right. Zombiotes. According to yes, they are zombiotes. We have with artist Rob DeSalvo and cover art by Giuseppe Camuncoli, Deadpool is out to kill all the Venoms. But is there anyone in the Marvel Universe who actually likes Wade enough to help him? We'll find out September 18th when you can find it in your local comic book store.
What's his name's going to help him? Metal Guy.
Cable.
Guy. Wow.
Metal Guy?
Okay. Metal Guy.
Yeah.
That's his name, damn it.
The Metal Guy?
That Metal Guy.
Juggernaut, Colossus, Iron Man.
Colossus. Thank you. Colossus.
Okay, because when you said the Metal Guy, I was like, are you talking about Cable? Because he has a metal arm?
Loves Deadpool.
I can't. Get out.
Okay. So, moving on.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen. Donald
Lord.
Duck isn't typically seen as one of the comics world's top warriors. However, when it comes to protecting his family, this often unlucky duck has accomplished some impressive feats. This fall, he'll prove himself worthy of Thor's power in the upcoming Marvel and Disney comic, What If Donald Duck Became Thor, #1. The story, based on a plot by Steve Belling and written by Riccardo Secchi, with art by Lorenzo Pastrovicchio, features Donald Duck taking his nephews Huey, Dewey, Louie on a class trip to a Viking ruin. There he discovers the stone ducks from Saturn are planning to invade Earth. Fortunately, Donald finds an enchanted cane that grants him Thor's thunderous abilities. In addition to the main cover by Lorenzo Pastrovicchio, the comic will have 3 variant covers. These includes works by popular artist Phil Noto, Peach Momoko, and a special cover by the legendary Thor writer artist Walter Simonson, which is one of his famous Thor covers. That is dope. That's the one right there.
Is that the one you would get Walt to sign at Terrificon this year?
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, sir.
I think it's so funny that I know for a fact that you will have 2 books to get signed, and both of them are Donald Duck or like just Disney Duck related. You're going to have the Infinity Dime for Jason Aaron, and now this for Walt Simonson.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
No, don't get me wrong. Like that just speaks to childlike nature.
They're hidden chords over there. I mean, they've had the Disney people for so long, and now they're just starting to use them. It's kind of interesting.
It's just finally. I will give once again, Peach Momoko. That is just a good cover.
It's a bit different than her usual stuff. I don't think she could really adapt Donald too much differently than he is without making it an unrecognizable character. I really enjoy this one though. Yeah,
it's pretty dope, and the Phil Noto one is pretty funny too. But I will say the Simonson. I was like, wow, I never thought I'd see Donald Duck Thor by Walt, but here we are.
There we go.
And no Frank Miller variant.
All right.
That's all we're going to say there. And moving on.
All right.
Oh, yeah. This is one of mine.
This would be Drew.
Yes, it would be me. the Tin Cup Society. I mean, the Tin Can. So as we've seen, Rick Morender is totally killing it at Image right now. I mean, he's 4 issues into his series, the Napalm Society. He just released his book, The Grommets, which is about skateboarding, which is awesome. I've read both of them. And now the Giant General line is releasing Tin Can Society, which is a new cyberpunk, superpowered adventure from Rick Morender, showrunner, writer Peter Warren, and an artist, Francesco Mobile. So in the story, you have Johnny Moore, who's a world-famous tech mogul known for pioneering mobility aids for people with disabilities like himself. But he also moonlights as a metal-suited vigilante called Caliburn. But when Johnny is found murdered, his suit stolen, his estranged childhood best friends are going to reunite to solve the mystery of his murder. So it's been described that this is a heartfelt and human look at the evolution of friendships across a lifetime, at disability and ableism, and the destructive power of fame.
Sounds like a Stand By Me kind of.
Yeah, like Stand By Me meets superhero origin story.
Yeah.
So it's going to be available September 11th with 3 covers. So the first one will be Mobile and Chris Cherky. The cover B is by Bengal, who is Rick's collaboration on Napalm Lullaby. And the last incentive is by Yannick Paquette and Chuckery. So I don't know. This looks pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. I've been enjoying Napalm Lullaby. It's a little odd, but still good. The Grommets I thoroughly have been enjoying, as I do love a 1990s skateboard coming of age tales. But this looks really freaking cool, and it kind of has that estranged friend reuniting to figure out a murder, kind of like a Stand By Me meets Watchmen.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, September 11th. Check this out. This sounds pretty great.
Did you see they're doing an animated series of The Watchmen?
Yes.
I was kind of shocked. I was like,
you got to keep milking that cow somehow, Jeremy.
Yeah. I was just like, we've done the movie, we've done a little TV show, series, and now the animated series. Huh.
Yeah. There we are. Yeah. But like I said, these pages look absolutely fantastic. So please check out Tin Can Society, everyone. All right, nice. What's next, Carrie?
Beautiful.
Moving on.
Jar
Jar.
Oh, yeah. This looks brutal.
It does, and it sounds sad. A new DC Black Label series will give a hard-boiled twist to the classic DC superhero Plastic Man. Plastic Man No More is a 4-issue series by Eisner-nominated Christopher Cantwell and artist Alex Linz. The story explores what happens when Eel O'Brien's powers begin to fail unexpectedly. Cantwell draws inspiration from a renowned horror movie director for this concept. When I think of Plastic Man, I immediately think of David Cronenberg, Cantwell said. There's a body horror element to Plastic Man's story that has always intrigued me. I started wondering, how would Plastic Man die? Is he immortal? I then imagined the slow, nasty breakdown of plastics and petroleum products. This led me to research depolymerization in the process of unzipping, envisioning what might happen if Eel's cellular structure started collapsing. The first issue is set to release on September 4th. Will feature covers by Linz, Michael Allred, Chris Samney, and Tyler Boss. Check out these covers and more at your LCS.
Yeah. Oh man.
The way he talks about just the breakdown of the petroleums and stuff, I'm imagining this is not going to be a non-painful way to go.
I think the thing that I really enjoy is that, again, you always think of Eel O'Brien as, as a silly character. So it's kind of nice to have this serious story, and especially because it's not just him dying, but he wants to try to save his son, who might have inherited the same problems. You know, so it's just going to be really interesting to see that. And of course, you know, you're dealing with Plastic Man, so you have that wide variety of shapes and things. So that's kind of the attempt of juxtaposing the humor with the horror, I guess, which is definitely not something you're seeing with Cronenberg.
Seeing him melt here is just kind of like, oh wow, it's going to be dark.
Yeah, you don't see Reed Richards doing that.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. All right, Reed. All right, what's next, Carrie?
Okay, next is me. In Image News, I'm never going to get this name right. Pornsak Pichashode has embarked on a new project he's calling the Horizon Experiment. He's referred to it as a publishing and incubation program. And basically what it is he grabbed a bunch of his friends and asked them all to throw a protagonist of color into a popular genre where if the main character's background was changed, the story wouldn't work. The resulting one-shots are all going to be pilots for potential series, depending on how well they catch on. And along with Pichashode, Will Dennis will be co-editing the project. So the first book that we have coming to us is The Manchurian by Pichashode, Terry and Rachel Dodson, and Jeff Powell, which will feature a James Bond who is half English and half Chinese, who will be running his missions in America for China. Next up, we have The Sacred Damned, featuring a story about a Muslim exorcist. This is going to be a new horror brought to us by Sabir Pirzada, Michael Walsh, and Becca Carey. And that just has me thoroughly excited. I'm sure you're not surprised at all.
Yeah, heard Michael Walsh.
It looks, it's like, oh, I'm in. There we go.
No.
All right. So, Tananarive Dew, Kelsey Ramsey, Joe Villarubia, and Jeff Powell are bringing us Moondogs, a story featuring a group of East African werewolves living in Miami that delves into being part of a minority within an even smaller minority. So that should be another interesting thing to read. I don't know much about Miami, but you know, I know there's a lot of different groups there, so it should be an interesting feel. This one I just like to say, Motherfucking Monsters is brought to us by Jay Holtham and Michael Lee Harris and follows an Evil Dead style of story. That's kind of all we have for that one. Looks like fun though. And then finally, Finders Keepers. This one sounds awesome. I'm going to be looking after this one too. It's a story combining Robin Hood and Indiana Jones, wherein the main character steals artifacts from museums and returns them to their native cultural homes. And this is brought to us by Vita Ayala, Sky Partridge, and Becca Carey. The Manchurian will be released first, arriving at your LCS on September 25th, and each of the others will be coming to us on a monthly basis following that. So, awesome. It's a neat experiment, I think.
Absolutely.
I'm going to
and they've done stuff like this in the past, you know, done one shot to test the water, and if they sell well, then they continue, then they'll do a new series. So hopefully.
I like the direction that they took with it. So and there's so much darkness to it again that I'm going to be like,
that last one, Finders Keeper, sounds like Tomb Raider, but in reverse.
It's like a reverse Indian. No, I think like reverse Indiana Jones.
Yeah. I'm gonna steal this back and bring it back to the guys that are gonna rip my heart out of my chest.
There you go.
Yep.
All right. And I feel like there's one more.
This would be for Drew.
Yes, I know it. There's one. I was like, there's one more. So, New York Times bestselling and Eisner Award-winning writer and artist Jeff Lemire, along with Steve Wands, are doing something new here by having his first ever creator-owned ongoing series to Boom Studios. So, this will be in his project coming to stores September 2024 called Minor Arcana. So this story essentially is combining small town life with the magical realism and supernatural mystery. So these are the kind. So basically, kind of think like the stuff that you saw on his work on Essex County and Sweet Tooth. So he's both writing and drawing it, so allowing that nice immersive feel. And he's loving it. He basically said that if Black Hammer, which is his love letter to Supergirl comics, which I cannot recommend enough, was his love letter to comics he grew up. Minor Arcana is his love letter to classic Vertigo comics of his youth, but through his own perspective / style. So the story is, and I feel like Carrie, this is just speaking to you. So Teresa, the prodigal daughter of a small town psychic tarot reading fraud, begrudgingly returns home to care for her ailing mother after being left home for good. Arriving back in her childhood hometown, seemingly untouched by time, Teresa learns that there may be more to the magic than she originally believed. And with that, she finds herself caught up in a town that desperately needs her help. The main cover is, of course, by Jeff Lemire, and the variants are by others like Tula Lotay, Dustin Nguyen, David Mack, and more. Each issue of Interconnect will feature a special tarot card variant cover illustrated by Lemire, culminating in a full tarot deck at the end of the series, starting with issue 1's being the Fool card. So, again, Jeremy, I just feel like this is just screaming Carrie.
Yeah.
Now, is this, you said it's going to be the entire tarot deck, or is it going to be the major arcana? It's called the minor arcana, but
yeah, it just says culminating in a full tarot deck at the end of the series.
That's going to be over 70 comics then.
Yep.
To get a full tarot deck. So nice.
Yeah. So,
it's going to be hard to shuffle, though.
Indeed. So, like I said, everybody, this will be in shops September 2024. So definitely keep an eye out for it. So,
I like the art.
All right.
Very nice.
All right. So,
it is.
Yet again, you've made it to the end. Thank you. You could have been watching anything right now. You could have been watching the latest episode of The Boys, but you chose to come here first. Thank you. We appreciate you. Okay, I'm good. I said my piece. I don't know.
All right.
I guess so.
Carrie, where do you like people following you at?
Oh yeah, right.
Well, you can find me at Carrie Sanders on Facebook. If you see a crow as the avatar, that would be me. I have a lot going on right now. We just released I'm here on Tuesday nights with these lovely gents and often Leo. And I'm also over on the Owlite Network, which is also part of the Dorkening Network. And we just released a book called The Owlite Menagerie, which is an anthology of authors from the Owlite Network, as well as some of the other friends of the network and people that we've had on, we've interviewed before. And all of the proceeds for that are going to Pro Literacy, a charity that helps with adult literacy. Thanks. Sorry, I just got distracted. I'm an author. I word good. But yeah, you can go check me out over there. And coming up this week, I am going to be going to Kansas City. So taking a nice break. And how about you, Jeremy? Where can we find you?
Find me everywhere and anywhere. Mainly on Facebook, though. And at on Still Token tomorrow night at 7:00, we will be talking to a cannabis entrepreneur. Yeah, that's the seller, right?
The fancy word.
Yes, entrepreneur. And finding out all the ins and outs of the cannabis industry. That'll be a lot of fun. And join us here next week as we put on another great show with another great guest, as Drew's going to tell you.
Hello, I am Drew, and I'm here to tell you that you are great for staying this long, because some other people definitely left, and I definitely didn't pay the tab, so that's on you, kid. You can find me on Facebook. I'm Drew Malo. I'm Ghostbuster Man 1984. on Instagram, which I've been using a lot more often. Thank you, Carrie. I'm here nor there. I definitely am going to be taking a break from social media sometime soon, just to need that nice little solitude from constantly posting, and I can only do this so much. But yes, and our next guest is not a guest, because we are doing a special event commemorating a notable moment that will be happening next Tuesday or sometime that week. So we will be doing another of our special live readings. And with that live reading, we are going to be adapting one of the, in my opinion, best Dark Horse Hellboy stories ever written and created, The Crooked Man by Mike Mignola and the late great Richard Corbin. So that means that, yes, 3 of these people and maybe a few others are own in distinct way, which means, well, you might want to get your sleep now, because you're definitely not going to get some after we're done.
Right. With that,
All right, everybody. Take care.